right in front of your mouth. There we go.
All right.
That's better. Good morning, and thanks for listening to Fairfield County's Refreshing 90.9 FM. We are live streaming at refreshing909.com and on TuneIn Radio, the smartphone, the app for your smartphone or tablet. We have this morning with us Jason Duchan, who is with RNoble and also does something a little fun called disc golf. We're going to talk about both of those things a little bit. How are you, Jason?
I am well. How are you this morning?
Wonderful. Thanks for coming in today to share about that. Now, Jason, you've been in here before talking about RNoble, which stands for Restoring Native Ohio Biodiversity with Land Health Education.
Yes.
A big
it's
mouthful.
A mouthful. Yes.
But it's a very important work. And spring's coming, the earth is waking up, and actually the earth might be a little confused because it's been trying to wake up for some time now.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a really nice week to be on radio with you talking about this, because this is National Invasive Species Week.
Really?
Yes.
Well, who would have known?
Yes.
And we have, there's a national something for everything.
Sure. But this is recognized from coast to coast this week. Because different states have different invasive species, and so it gives different states a chance to highlight the action of getting rid of these species or trying to manage them in the upcoming spring and growing season.
Okay, well, mushroom season is coming, and that's my favorite thing. But let's talk about Invasive Species Week. So what's, I know you've told us before what the invasive species in Ohio or even in Fairfield County is, but I forget.
Yes. Well, first, to refresh some people out there or to educate some who may not know, invasive species is a general category. We have invasive insects like the Asian ladybug. We have invasive fish like the Asian carp that are in the Missouri and threatening the Great Lakes.
I see a theme
or the Illinois,
here.
Excuse me, yes.
Asian.
Yes, well, and then you have the European starlings, which are invasive birds. And then even white-tailed deer. There's nothing to keep their populations in check as far as bobcats and things that used to be here in Ohio.
So even the white-tailed deer can be considered invasive.
Oh, absolutely.
If their populations escalate.
And they already are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. And so today I'd like to talk about what I focus on, and that is the plants.
Right.
Because all of these things that I have just mentioned all link back to plants. And so that's the fundamental place to start. And invasive species, the best term is non-native invasive species. So these are, like you had seen, or picked up on, that a lot of them come from Asia, and several from Europe. And so what happens is you have different continents. And on these different continents, you have different plants and insects, and that whole web of life, they interact and keep each other in check. Well, when you take some plants from other continents and bring them to a new continent, there's nothing there to keep it in check, and it tends to grow and run wild and push out the native species here. So, for example, bush honeysuckle or autumn olive are two shrubs that tend to grow up and multiply quite rapidly, and they basically bush out and they leaf out, which means their leaves open earlier than our native species like our spice bush or something of that nature. And so they tend to shade the ground early and keep the sun from activating the soil and the seeds that keep our native species going, which keeps our native web of life going.
Yes. Wow. We're all connected. It's a big circle of life, right?
It sure is. It sure is.
That is crazy. So even the animals that you mentioned, they feed off of the plants, or?
Absolutely, yes. And the thing is, like, for example, the bush honeysuckle, they tend to, the berries they produce, people want to make the argument that, birds love bush honeysuckle. Well, they don't have the carbohydrates, they don't have the necessary ingredients in their fruits.
It's like junk food. It's like
really
potato
is.
chips
Or
for
Skittles.
birds.
Yes, it really is. Because what their niche is, what bush honeysuckle and other major non-native invasive species do, is they focus on reproduction rather than fruit quality. And so our native species, their fruit quality is a lot higher and better for our animals than the non-natives.
I didn't know that animals had junk food.
Surprise.
Surprise. And it's because we bring about something that was not meant to be there. Same with our human junk food. It's made out of stuff that was not meant to be here.
That is exactly a true statement. Yes.
Yeah.
And so like mushroom that you hit on, morel mushrooms are threatened. There is data out there that those of us in the naturalist world are reading up on that indicates there is oils and resins in the soils left over by garlic mustard that basically keep fungus from forming. And mushrooms are a form of fungus. So if you tend to go
like
to your
antibacterial for the ground.
A little worse, actually.
Yeah.
A little worse, yeah. And so what happens is the morel mushroom sites that you would tend to go to year after year after year, and you find that you have less and less morel mushrooms, well, start looking for garlic mustard, because I could almost guarantee you that there's a bunch of garlic mustard in there. So if you go online and search garlic mustard, and I'm trying to use common names rather than scientific names, not to puzzle anybody.
We appreciate that.
But get a good picture of what it looks like. You can go to Google image and type in garlic mustard, and it'll show you different forms of them, and then go look at your morel mushroom sites as you're hunting this year and see if that's what you have. And so if so, then you can reverse the process by trying to start eliminating these garlic mustard species.
So go out and pick garlic mushrooms for or garlic mustard for a season, and then next year will it just take one season?
No. Unfortunately, garlic mustard is one of our biggest enemies, and there's a slew of them in the non-native invasive species world. But garlic mustard reproduces biannually, and they shed tons of seeds. So you could have a room as big as your garage, or a place in your yard or your property as big as your garage floor space, filled with garlic mustard. And if you pull every single plant, they'll come back next year. Pull all those plants, they'll come back again. You pull all those plants, and maybe 8 to 12 years later is the theory, you'll be totally rid of it. Yeah, no, I'm not.
This is depressing.
It is, but it's working.
It feels like a lost cause.
It may.
Yeah.
But, with anything that is truly important, you have to put some work into it. And now I use the extreme. I mean, garlic mustard is truly one of the most hardest things to really get rid of
because of seeds.
Yes. So, many of the other species that we talk about, it's a heck of a lot easier to get rid of. Can't you just dig up the ground
and bring in new soil?
Well, you don't really want to do that either. It's got a lot of good qualities in the soil, but yeah, we have, there's test plots of colleagues of mine in different areas. In fact, Schallenberger is one of them, to where we're trying to get a gauge on exactly how long and with what methods work best to get rid of garlic mustard entirely in the most efficient amount of time. And so, and a lot of this is being done through a colleague of mine that is doing it on his own time, just out of a passion of his. And the man is awesome. But yeah, so that's just one thing, and the sooner you get started on getting rid of them, the better off you'll be, and the sooner you'll have yielding more morel mushrooms and other things you like, orchids and all these things will start coming back.
Very good, and we love morel mushrooms, so
absolutely
got to keep them babies coming. Well, there is another way that you can help with I don't know what you call it, the soil, the planting and so forth, and that's through Fairfield County Soil and Water.
That is true. And the term we like to use is native plant restoration.
Yes, there you go.
Or non-native in species eradication, either one. But yes, there's a tree sapling sale that Fairfield County Soil and Water puts on every year, and these are little saplings, but if you nurture them and grow them right, they sell a lot of native tree species. And so when you're going out and clearing your bush honeysuckle, or you invoke my services, when you clear these things, you tend to like the barriers still. So you go back in and you can replant native species like spice bush or any number of trees, your oaks or whatever your soil indicates. And these are fairly inexpensive. And right now, if you go to Fairfield County Soil and Water's website, they have a list of their tree saplings that you can go ahead and download the form, fill out what you like, and then just go to their office and pay for them. And when they come in, you pick them up and you can plant them. So it's a really good project that they have going, and they've been doing for years and years and years. So hats off to them for keeping that going.
Yes, absolutely. And we like to tell people about that because when is the perfect time to plant a tree?
It's coming up. It's
yeah,
right. It's like
20 years ago, but today. If you didn't do it 20 years ago, then do it today. So
And
there's that. Also, tell us about the botanical symposium.
yeah, so I believe there's still some space left, and up in Columbus they have a botanical symposium on March 24th, and you can look this up on the ODNR's website. They'll have things that gear you towards that. I believe the Natural Areas and Preserves tab. But it'll inform you on a lot of the special topics on invasive species and then other new scientific information and methods that people are using, as well as there's tons of vendors there, and you can buy really cool plants or seed packs or books and find out more about your garden and new ways to do things. So the Botanical Symposium is really interesting to go to if you have a green thumb, or if you want to acquire a green thumb.
If you want to acquire a green thumb,
Yes.
that's good.
Yes.
And tell them one more time where to go for that information.
Actually, the best place to go, and I'm sorry, I forget the
Just
venue
Google
this
it,
year.
Botanical Symposium, Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, that'd
Very
be the
good.
best way to go.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
Yes.
Well, also tell us, how do we get a hold of you, Jason, for information on health education, land health education, and your services to come and help eradicate these things from our land?
So if you're on Facebook, you can go to RNoble on Facebook, and I have a nice page there. I'm working on my website currently, and you can also go to RNoble.LLC at gmail.com.
Very
And so
good.
either one, you can reach out to me either way, Facebook, RNoble, or my email. And then I like to do it this way because different people have different land qualities and different soil qualities. And so you can't really give a uniform assessment to every single person who calls you up with questions.
Sure.
Everybody needs a specific diagnosis of how their land is unhealthy or sick and what they need to do to improve the quality of their land. So this is why I try to do it on a very personal, intimate basis so that you get the best quality assessment for your property.
Very good. Go to Facebook, RNoble LLC, and look up Jason Duchan with RNoble, Restoring Native Ohio Biodiversity with Land Health Education.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we are going to be back talking to Jason about a pastime of his, disc golf, on Fairfield County's refreshing 90.9 FM. All right.
Thanks.
I'm just going to throw Lancaster Parks and Rec out, and you can go back to whatever it is you want
Okay.
there.
Okay. Sounds great.
All right, 20 seconds. Oh, goodness sakes. Oh, this weather. I heard it thundering while we were talking, did you?
Yeah. It's crazy. This has been the weirdest winter ever.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Good morning, and thanks for listening to Fairfield County's refreshing 90.9 FM. Today we are talking to Jason Duchan, who also is RNoble. That's the business that helps you get educated about the invasive species and eradicating them from the land so that our so that our
Native species. Yes.
there we go, can thrive, so we don't lose things like beautiful morel mushrooms and so forth. And so also you help deal with people's personal properties and so forth.
Yes, ma'am. I actually love to go out and try to do more work on trying to reduce non-native invasives, just because over the years it's become a passion of mine through my employment with another entity, and realizing that we deal with just a small area of Ohio, and private property is approximately 98% of the property owned in Ohio. So if we don't start reaching out to more people in their private properties and start getting these things changed around, we're going to lose a lot of things. And unfortunately, a big casualty of that may be our Morel mushroom population sooner than we think. One of the ways that you can help to do this is by reducing monocultures and diversifying your garden. A cornfield is a monoculture, a grassy lawn is a monoculture. What you need to do is, or what would help, is to use, if you have, 2-3 acres of mowed lawn, try to take a section of maybe the middle of that or somewhere where you can just let it grow back and maybe plant some native grass seeds or some wildflower packets and try to let that area grow and become a little pollinator area, because pollinating is so important, and that's a whole nother subject which we really don't have time for today, but it's extremely important. Another thing you can do is encourage your local nurseries to start carrying more native Ohio species. All these things add up to a goal that we can start to turn the tide and bring it back into our favor, because our forests, our prairies are in dire need of more native species. So just like you would have routine maintenance for your vehicle and things that you can't blow off routine maintenance wise, you need to start looking at your property as being one of those things. So I'm very proud to say that Lancaster Parks and Recreation has taken on a position to start doing these things as well, and they have been, but they're gaining some steam to go that direction more here lately. And one thing you can do is to help with the renewal of the levy on May 2nd for Lancaster Parks and Recreation.
Yes, I just saw that in the paper today that they're going to be rolling that out.
It's extremely important. I don't know if anybody realizes this or knows this, but they are operating on less of a percentage now than they were in 1986.
Wow.
That's 31 years ago.
Yeah,
And
percentage-wise, and we all know that percentages go up, inflation and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And when you help Lancaster Parks and Recreation, you're helping the community in many ways, not just so that you can go to a nice pretty park and it's mowed correctly, but there's ash trees that need to be taken down. There's infrastructure that needs to be repaired that was put in 20, 30, 40 years ago. On top of all the other things that they do, that they have to do, that they're regimented by as a yearly sequence, these other things build up. And if you don't have extra people and manpower to do these new things, they don't get done. Mm-hmm. And another thing that helps is disc golf, which we're transitioning into.
Yeah.
Has been a passion of mine since 1990. And, I started Lancaster Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance 10 years ago. And I've had a wonderful, wonderful time with our guys here in Lancaster, Ohio, and the demeanor and the integrity of our players and what we do to try to improve, Keller Kern Park, which is also Flat Rock's disc golf course.
Yes, which is up on the hill on High Street.
Yes, across from Castaways.
Yeah.
Our guys are constantly picking up trash and other things and trying to keep it clean. But on top of all that, when we have a thing like disc golf that Lancaster Parks and Recreation is able to afford us to do, we are able to give back to the community. Coming up this weekend, I believe, there's a Lyme disease tournament that benefits Lyme disease awareness.
Yes.
That somebody not of Lancaster is coming in to put on a tournament to try to...
For disc golf?
Yes.
A disc golf tournament that helps
to,
Lyme disease.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And just this past Saturday, we had our Frosted Flat Rocks, we call it, which is a doubles partner disc golf tournament.
Well, and it was somewhat weather-wise, according to that term, it was at least a little cooler that
very
weekend.
Very frosted. Last year we called it the defrosted. This year it's the frosted.
Yeah.
But we had 118 people show up and play in the horrible cold wind, and we raised $1,300 for foundation dinners, plus a bunch of canned foods and things, and also some money that we're going to put into Alley Park's disc golf course.
Sure.
So as people might be able to pick up on, it's all linked. If you can help out Lancaster Parks and Recreation, they're helping out us, which we're helping out Foundation Dinners and a lot of other things. So
again, the circle of life.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So one other thing I'd like to really mention is something that we're trying this year, the Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance. We have a Facebook page, and you can get all of our information on there. Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance on Facebook.
Okay.
We are coming out with a Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance Memorial Tournament, and this is going to be Saturday, May 20th and May 21st. So this is our first 2-day tournament, which will be bringing in players to stay overnight here in Lancaster.
Nice. Economic development.
Spend money, yes, absolutely. And the thing is we have usually, with 18 holes and 4 people per hole, we cap our tournament for one course at 72. This brings in 144,
yes,
potentially. And so, in honor of the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces, both foreign and domestic, to ensure our freedom and American way of life, Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance is proud to put on this tournament, and we're going to have a fundraiser for local veterans.
Nice.
Right here in Lancaster, veterans in need. And so we're working with Fairfield County Veterans Services to indicate, potential best candidates for this
Sure.
help. But it's going to be a great thing to be excited about, and every year we're going to have somebody different that we're going to benefit and help out with cash money. Somebody who has given back to this community may need money to help pay their rent or buy their prescriptions or something like that, so that, again, we're able to give back. And this all comes from being able to utilize a park that is being funded by our taxes. So
absolutely. So Flat Rocks Disc Golf Course, which is in Kellerkern Park, which is on top of the hill on High Street across from Castaways, is the place where all of this, the tournament and things will be going on?
Well, actually, I should have indicated, and thanks for bringing that up. We also have another course that we had just installed, and it is still under construction, and we call it Eagle's Nest Disc Golf Course. And this is on the south side of Alley Park, the quarry side, for those of you familiar with Alley Park, and we're approximately where the Eagle's Nest is, hence the name.
Yes.
So we're going to utilize both courses over
for
a 2-day
this May
period.
Tournament.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's going to be a grand poobah kind of format, to where it's going to bring a lot of talented people, a lot of
That's
talented
wonderful.
disc
So
golfers.
how does somebody get involved in the Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance?
You can message us through our Facebook page, or you can come to any of our Sunday doubles. Sundays at 11, year-round, rain, sleet, snow, or hail. We meet and have a random draw partners doubles tournament.
Wow, I had no idea. This is diehard.
It is, because we have guys out there in wind,
In
hail,
all
and
weather.
8 inches of snow,
How
and they're throwing
interesting.
discs. Yes, absolutely.
I had no idea we had such a following right here in Lancaster for disc golf.
It's pretty astonishing.
Yeah.
Our club is 10 years old, a little over 10 years now, and most clubs form because it's a decent sized city like Dayton, Cincinnati, Toledo, etc., where they have several courses, and then you have a population that feeds off those several courses, and you have a club that's born. We have a 10-year-old club that has existed with one course for 10
Wow.
years, and we have been able to keep a great core group of guys.
Participation.
Yes, that the major people in disc golf know of us. The guys that do it for a living. Their winnings register around $60,000 a year just to
So there's
play
pro
disc golf. Oh, absolutely. If you go to professionaldiscgolf.com, pdga.com, you will see way more information than you could ever believe. And so I'm proud to say that our demeanor and our inclusion of everybody down here in Lancaster is very different than Canton or Dayton or Cincinnati or Columbus, for that matter. People really like our guys down here. They really genuinely find a difference with our community and really take to our guys, and it's a great special thing that we'd like to highlight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason Deshawn, for joining us today. 2 things covered here today. RNoble is where you can find more information on Facebook, and also the Lancaster Disc Golf Alliance.
Yep.
You can also find their page on Facebook if you want to get involved, or just get a hold of Jason at RNoble.LLC@gmail.com. Jason, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Did I ramble on too much?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I just